Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jamila. This is JemilaBeReadin because I do be reading, and let's talk about the books that I read in April. April was, it felt like kind of a bleh reading month for me. I did end up reading 8 books, which is, I feel like a lot for me. On average, I usually tend to read like 4 to 6 books a month, at least within the last year. That's what I've been averaging. And so it's a lot, but also it kind of feels like I didn't read anything. There wasn't a ton that really left a lasting impression on me. And to be quite honest, like this was like a very not diverse reading month for me. The majority of the books I read were from white authors, and no tea, no shade, but I'm wondering if that contributed to this feeling of bleh and not really finding any new favorites this month. I did have one stand out, but everything else was kind of like middling to all right, this was good. In any case, let's talk about the books that I read. So at the beginning of this month, I was in the mood for an audiobook and I was cooking, so I just wanted something like short that I could complete by the time I was done cooking. And so I was like perusing all of the audiobooks that I had on Libro FM, and I came across Wild Spaces by S.L. Coney. This is a pretty short audiobook, and I tend to listen to audiobooks on 2x speed, so I was able to finish it by the time I was done cooking. This is a Lovecraftian short horror novella that's following this young boy who lives off the coast of South Carolina with his parents and his dog. And one day, his maternal grandfather shows up kind of out of the blue. This is the first time that he's meeting his grandfather, and it's very clear that his mother does not have a good relationship with his grandfather. And all these like really weird, bizarre things start to happen with his grandfather, and also to him. Like there's some kind of metamorphosis or change happening with him as well. And it's kind of eerie, it's weird, it's creepy, and I feel like I like weird books, but I think I'm looking for very specific things, and this one just didn't really quite land for me. I'm saying that I gave it a 3-star, but I think in retrospect, I'm probably gonna give it like a 2.5 stars. It was just deeply unforgettable. I honestly don't remember much of what happened. I don't really understand like what it was trying to do. It's clear that this was supposed to be some sort of allegory, maybe for like childhood and coming of age. I just didn't really quite understand what it was trying to do or what it was trying to say. And it was just kind of messy and all over the place. And yeah, I didn't love it. I gave this one 2.5 stars. If it sounds interesting to you, check it out. But if not, it is what it is. Then I read the first volume of this manga called Wandering Island. I'm just gonna like flash you this real quick. I don't know if this is like not safe for work. It's not like even a not safe for work kind of story, but she's just like in a bikini, and so I'm just gonna put that down. In any case, this is just a 2-volume manga series about this young woman named Mikura Amelia. She's free-spirited, lives alone with her cat, and operates an air delivery service. Her grandfather passes away, and he left her this parcel that's addressed to an island that doesn't exist, and she basically spends like at least this first volume trying to learn more about this island and find it, and she becomes kind of like obsessed. And honestly, It was okay. It's only 2 volumes, and I own the second volume, so I feel like I should just like read it and finish it up. But I don't really care all that much about what happens or if she finds the island. I've kept this manga for so long. I bought both volumes, $5 each, at my very first comic convention. It was Wizarding World, now called Fan Expo, back in 2018, and I'd never read it, and it just like come with me on various moves, which is just so funny. And I finally decided to read it because I thought I was going to be participating in 30 in 30, which is reading 30 volumes of manga in 30 days, and this was the only volume that I read in April, so clearly I flopped on that. Yeah, I don't know that I really give this a star rating, like maybe 2.5, 3 stars. I don't know. It was fine. I'm probably gonna unhaul both volumes soon. Then, you know, sometimes curiosity gets the best of me. I came across a TikTok video of someone reacting to this author's video promoting this book called Get in My Swamp. It's by G.M. Ferry. This is basically Shrek fanfic smut. It was banned from like Amazon or something like that. I don't know. I found the ebook and I did read it. It's only 112 pages, so it was like really short, and honestly I was skimming a lot of it. It's not good. 1 star. And what's funny about it is I can't tell if the author's like in on it. Do you know what I mean? I can't tell if this was written seriously or for the lulz, like for the silly goofy times. I genuinely can't tell. And I screenshotted quite a few excerpts from this book because I was sharing it with some people in Discord because it was just so silly. Basically, we're following this woman named Leona, similar to Fiona, who is like on a bachelorette trip, her own bachelorette trip that's being hosted by her future sister-in-law. And she wanders away. She kind of like hates everyone, and she wanders away into the forest, and then she like falls through a trap or whatever and ends up on Beck's swamp, not to be confused with Shrek. In any case, she's describing how she met her fiance. His name is Lawrence, and she says there are some good things about Lawrence. He's good looking in a Ralph Lauren kind of way. He can be judgy, but he decided to pick me of all people. Well, most guys would pick me in a crowded room. I've got huge boobs, porn star lips, and an ass that won't quit. But I'm also poor, come from a shitty family, and have no friends. My humor is not for everyone, and I don't seem to know when to stop talking. I'm not everyone's cup of tea, but Lawrence picked me. I'm not entirely sure why, besides being smoking hot and hilarious, but I'm thankful that he did. And it's like, you're reading that, and it's like, you think like she has to be in on it, right? Like, this is a joke. Like, this is silly, right? I just couldn't tell. Here's another excerpt. She's walking through the forest, right, by herself, and the chapter starts off with, I'm not trying to be a pick-me girl by saying that walking alone in the woods at night doesn't scare me. In fact, there's not a lot that does. So my solo trek through these woods outside of the silent retreat is practically a cakewalk. Growing up, we lived in a trailer in the middle of the Oregon woods. My parents would constantly forget me at school, the grocery store, my friend's house, you name it. I had to learn how to find my way back real quick, and I couldn't let anything as silly as night and an owl hoot freak me out. And first of all, I feel like you mean pick me was the wrong choice of word. Obviously, like pick me's and not like other girls are like it's of a similar vein, and there's overlap. But like I think what she meant to say was I'm not trying to be like not like other girls. And then just like the description of like her home life, it just feels so silly. It feels like someone is like doing a parody of like Wattpad stories where people like write them like most not like other girls who had like a super shitty home life, and they're like super dramatic about it, and it's very clear that the person writing about it has no idea what it's actually like to grow up in those circumstances. In any case, I couldn't tell if she was being serious or not. In it, Leona falls through, she meets Beck, he kind of takes her captive, and then they fall in love, ? I don't know. And then she has a fiance, and then so she ends up going back to her regular life. Sorry, spoilers. I don't know, I wouldn't recommend you go and read this, but she goes back to her life and she discovers her fiance is bumping uglies with his sister. So a little like surprise incest there. For what reason? I don't know. it was a hot mess. It was entertaining for like 2.5 seconds and then it got old real fast, but I did finish it, so that's on me. 1 star. Then I read One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig, which is the first book in a young adult duology, fantasy duology. This is super popular. I think it got really popular last year. Lots of people were reading it and talking about it. So I had put it on hold on Libby like months ago, and it finally came off hold. So I read it and I thought it was okay. I gave this one a 2.75 stars, 3 if I'm feeling generous. This is following our main character, Elspeth, which is a little bit difficult for me to say. She has this monster inside of her called the Nightmare that's been with her for like 10 years. There is some interesting like card-based magic going on. There's basically like 72 something. There's a certain number of cards and each card has like a different type of ability and things. I'm not doing, honestly, I don't think it's me. I don't think this book did a good job of explaining the magic system all that well. I think it's interesting and unique. It's just like kind of hard to wrap your head around because I don't think the author did a good job of like explaining how this actually works. I think a lot of it, the world building is not great, but Elspeth is our main character. She meets this dude named Raven and they have to work together to like find these other cards, whatever. It doesn't matter. I just, I'm noticing that with a lot of this like new wave of romantasy books, they don't feel like lived in worlds. Like this felt very empty. It didn't feel like a world, like a vast world that has like various cultures and even people in it. Like there are some side characters, but every side character that's included in this is some way related to the plot or there to move the plot forward. And that's just a little bit frustrating to me. Like this is like set in like, I don't know, like your typical like Eurocentric fantasy, like medieval-ish world. And she's well off and Raven is well off and she's staying in their like castle in their grounds or whatever. And I would expect there to be lots of people working at this castle, groundskeepers, handmaidens, maids, cooks, all of that kind of stuff, right? There's just no one there. Like there's no one there. Or maybe there are, but we're not told of them. And it just feels like not really like a lived in world. And I'm getting kind of tired of that. For me personally, like world building is one of my favorite things about fantasy books. And I just feel like there's not enough care or thought going into the actual fantasy portion of romantasy books. And then there's also not enough thought and care going into the romantic development either, because there still like needs to be enough for there to be plot, but just neither end up getting developed well for me personally. And the relationship between Elspeth and Raven is cute, but it's also kind of insta-love. Didn't love that either. Honestly, this book kind of reminded me of the book Fire by Kristen Cashore, although not as good because that's one of my favorite books of all time. So that was a little bit disappointing, but it just kind of like similar beats kind of reminded me of that book, but just like not as well done. And yeah, I mean, I'm going to read the second book because it ended on kind of a wild cliffhanger and it's a duology, so it's like just one more book. I put it on hold on Libby and it's like another like few months wait, so we'll see if I even remember anything or if I even feel like continuing on by the time it comes off hold. It was fine. I think it's better than some of the other romantasy books that I've read, but it's also I feel like not as good as a lot of people are saying, but obviously reasonable minds differ. Everyone has different tastes. Then I read an e-arc, A Funny Story by Emily Henry. This book is now out. This is obviously Emily Henry's new book. I really liked this one. I feel like I didn't know what to expect because I've had such mixed luck with Emily Henry. I felt very middling about Beach Read. I absolutely love People We Meet on Vacation. It is my favorite Emily Henry. Anyone else who has other thoughts, don't tell me. Okay, me and People We Meet on Vacation, we're like this, okay? I really liked Book Lovers, didn't like Happy Place, so I didn't know what to expect going into Funny Story, but I really like this. I think this could potentially be my next favorite after People We Meet on Vacation, but I do need to reread Book Lovers to see like where they are. They're kind of like tied in my mind right now. But I gave Funny Story 4.5 stars. So this is following Daphne and Miles. Daphne was engaged to this man, what is his name? Peter, and he has his childhood best friend named Petra. And on his bachelor trip, they end up, you know, realizing that they're in love with each other. And so Daphne gets left by Peter for his childhood best friend. And Petra also was dating someone. So Daphne and Miles are now like left in this lurch. Daphne had like moved to this town for Peter, got a new job there. She doesn't really know anyone, and he also owns the house that they were living in. So she needs somewhere to stay. Miles had a second bedroom, so now they are living with each other. They don't really talk for a while. They're just kind of roommates. And then they get invited to Peter and Petra's wedding, which is wild. So they decide that they're going to fake date and go to this wedding. And through that, Miles also wants to show Daphne around this town and the beauty of this town. And so they go on these little adventures around and meet a bunch of people. It's clear that Miles is really well respected in the community. And yeah, I just really liked it. They both had their own journeys. I think this could have been a 5-star for me if we got Miles' point of view, which I know Emily Henry always does single POV, and it frustrates me every time, even though I still enjoy the books. But I think it could have been like my favorite Emily Henry had we gotten Miles' point of view. But yeah, I like watching them go on their respective journeys and also grow to love each other. And I just had a good time. And I will say, I've been seeing people, comparing Miles to Nick from New Girl, which I just can't see at all. Miles is much more emotionally mature and just more mature in general than Nick ever was in the show. And then I also saw someone on TikTok call this romance struggle love. And I'm like, do you even know what struggle love means? I don't understand it. I honestly feel like there's just like some judgment against Miles because at the beginning of the book, he's like obviously sad because he just got left by his girlfriend, and he's kind of just like crying in his room and also smoking weed. And I feel like people are judging the weed part because he smokes, and it's not even that like heavily mentioned in the book. And yeah, I don't know. He's just a regular guy with a regular job that he's good at and is passionate about, and he's well respected in this town. I really don't see what the problem is. I liked him, whatever. Then I read The Past is Red by Catherine M. Valenti. This is my second book by this author. I read this book for a video that should be out later this month in May, so I won't get too deep into my thoughts about this, but I gave this one a 4.5 stars. I think this could potentially be a 5 stars upon reread, potentially. This is about our main character, Tetley, who is the most hated girl in Garbage Town, aka this world, and we're just kind of discovering why and what led to that and how she's dealing with it and how she still really loves the world that she's living in despite, you know, being hated by everyone and also living in this world that doesn't have land anymore. It's our earth. It's just water. And people are living on garbage, basically. And I really liked it. Tetley has such a very distinctive voice. It's a very voicey book. I think if you're someone that doesn't like that, or if you find her voice to be very irritating, you're not going to like the rest of the book. But I really liked it. I thought it was very interesting. I thought it was very fascinating. I really liked Tetley as a character. I loved watching her be angry, but also have so much hope and optimism and just love for the world that she's in now, despite the fact that it kind of sucks. Not kind of, it does suck. And yeah, if you want to know more, I guess keep an eye out for the video that this book is in. And 2 books that I read for a video that I posted before this one was We Could Be So Good by Cat Sebastian and Bear With Me Now by Katie Shepherd. I read both of these books because it's the highest and lowest rated romance books on my physical TBR. We Could Be So Good is a historical Achillean romance. We're following Nick Russo, who is a reporter at the Chronicle, and Andy, who is also a reporter, but is also the son of the editor and owner of this newspaper. They become friends, and then it develops into a romance. This is set in the late 1950s. It's kind of weird to consider that historical, but I guess it is at this point. And it's a very slow and quiet romance book. It's very much like Friends to Lovers. And, you know, I feel like there's some tension based on just like outside forces and, you know, homophobia and fear of being caught by the police and stuff like that. But overall, it's a very chill book. You have some of that tension, but it has a happy ending and nothing bad or particularly serious happens in this book, which I appreciated. And I gave this one 4 stars. Bear With Me Now is a contemporary rom-com that's following Tegan and Darcy. They meet at this wellness retreat that Darcy is working at. Tegan is hiking by himself and runs into a bear, and she saves him, and which kind of jumpstarts their story. Tegan is recovering from a mental health episode. He had a panic attack / burnout situation, and he is just dealing with a lot of like work related things, family related things, and Darcy kind of helps him. There is a kind of like not hidden identity, but he lies about something that's kind of the premise of their relationship or the movement of this book, which is just weird and such a stupid thing to lie about. Honestly, I think the book could have been exactly the same had it not been that. But it is what it is. She ends up becoming his sober companion, even though he's not an alcoholic, but she thinks he is. It's just, it was really stupid. Overall, though, I give this one a 3 stars. I actually didn't mind their relationship. I actually kind of liked it, but that lying situation that's just hovering over all of it was just really annoying to me. But overall, I felt kind of indifferent towards this book. I think it's kind of your quintessential average 3-star read. It is what it is. Those are all of the books that I read in April. I'm hoping to have a much better reading month in May. It's gonna be a very busy month for me, so we'll see how much I end up reading. And I'll catch y'all in the next video.